Excellent.
The other thing, too, I have been in touch in the past with somebody from the Campaign for Liberty because I wanted to make sure that it was nonpartisan in its effort, because up until, September, everybody was flowing through the Republican Party, and I myself could not stay registered Republican, so I re-registered independent, and they assured me that this is a nonpartisan effort, so it doesn't matter what party affiliation you are, please go to the Campaign for Liberty and sign up to get involved in your precinct, because most of these issues are totally nonpartisan. And in fact, we kind of need to break up the two-party system. It's dualism. It's called divide and conquer, and we don't need to be participating. We need to open up that system.
I agree totally. The so-called two-party system is a blight and a bane on the American people. Read what Washington had to say about parties, or factions, as he called them, in his farewell address.
I think that's Federalist number 10, if I remember
correctly. Also in Federalist number 10, but in his farewell address, Washington had a lot to say about political parties and the bad things they do. Yeah.
Right. Well, we're going to someone from Ohio. Welcome, Jim. Are you going to be able to vote for my friend David Macko?
Dave and I are good friends for a long time. However,
hi, Jim.
He knows more of the duress I've suffered than probably anybody else I've associated with. I wanted to bring up something that's a victory, you might say, actually a defeat for our adversaries. My brother happens to be, at least has been the last few months, the chairman of Wachovia Corporation. And they chose their interim CEO. I believe his name is Robert Steele. If you want to do a little bit of work, say with dogpile.com or one of the search engines, Robert Steele, I believe, put something between 12 and 15 million of his own fortune into the Wachovia stock. And of course, yesterday it dropped to a low level where maybe $1 a share was contributed to Wachovia by the Citibank organization as they're taking over the banking industry from Wachovia. I mean, this is what would I say, destruction of our adversary in a way that they're going to realize their defeat very well. Do you remember FAME.org and what's stated there?
FAME?
That's Edwin Vieira's website. Foundation for the Advancement of Monetary Education.
Oh.
Vieira is a very good man.
Yeah.
What's stated there is that with this current system of fiat money, in the flash of a circumstance, you can eliminate somebody's wealth. And that's exactly what's happening to these turkeys that have run their corporate empires and pseudo-banking for so long.
Well, what goes around comes around. You're playing with fire. Somebody's bound to get burned.
Because of the constitutional education that's underway, I wish we'd educate more of the people who are involved on the mass media. For instance, you remember Jerome Corsi and his book and so forth.
Yes, I do.
Well, Jerome Corsi will come on the air. He at one time was a substitute host for Derry Brownfield. Derry's broadcast on the local radio station on WCER in the middle of the day. He's a agriculture and economics, what would I say? Anyway, his program's called Common Sense Coalition. And when they talk about the government having a right to do this or a right to do that, somebody needs to correct Jerome Corsi and point out in the public capacity, if anybody's in public service, he has an oath of office and he posts a bond, or he has an employment contract with a government agency for which he works. In that public capacity, by God, he has no rights. He only has duties, responsibility, and a limited authority delegated to him by we the people. And until that fundamental theme is once again understood by the people, they're going to become basically subject to all this nonsense of the administrative regulation.
Did you call Mr. Corsi and tell him what you just told us?
I don't know how to get in touch with him. I told Dave I didn't even know how to get in touch with you, Mike, and I hope that's taken care of before. Well, did Dave get my email that I...
Well, yes, I did. They're coming to America, and you are listening to Michael Badnarik, the stepfather of the Constitution. James Madison was the father of the Constitution. He passed away in 1836. Since then, the Constitution has been orphaned and abandoned, and by God, I have adopted it as my very own. I will protect the Constitution and I invite you to do the same thing. My co-host this morning is David Macko, running for Congress in Ohio, and our caller is his friend Jim from Ohio. Sorry, gentlemen, you guys, we have a commercial break that's computer controlled, and we're going off the other air whether we're ready to or not, so I had to interrupt. Jim, you were saying before we were commercialized?
Well, I've been at this for a very long time. For instance, even on my check blanks, I've never used anything but 2 initials the last name because I don't want to have my address, phone number, and maybe a spouse if I were married being tracked by the microfilm records in the pseudo-banking system. And the contract most people don't understand or haven't come across is the contract they sign when they open their savings or checking account. Right there on the signature card, you're going to read something like, I agree to abide by all the rules and regulations of the bank, period. Well, first thing, it's not a bank. It doesn't store any commodity wealth anymore. So it's not a bank, and it's a false statement. And when I opened the last checking account, Dave knows about this, down here in Ohio, I wrote another sentence onto that signature card before I signed it. It said, in my second case, but this statement shall mean no waiver of any constitutionally secured rights or natural immunities for the owners of account, period. Then I have 2 initials and last name. But I would suggest what's happened ever since, say, 1871 until 1971. You remember August 1971 when Nixon declares bankruptcy of the corporation?
That's when the Libertarian Party was founded.
Yeah.
Let me interject here for a minute. We do need to reestablish the right of private contracts. But we also need to address the problems of government attacks on our liberties. I want to repeal all of the police state measures of the Bush administration and the Clinton administration, the obscenely misnamed USA Patriot Act, the Real ID Act, the Military Commissions Act, which wipes out the Magna Carta, wipes out the right of habeas corpus. All of these things are totally evil and against the Constitution. We need to get rid of all of the federal gun laws, starting with Roosevelt's tax on machine guns. We need to get rid of the federal drug laws, starting with the Harrison Act. We need to abolish the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. And I want to also mention for a moment the upcoming World War III. I don't know how many of your listeners are aware of this, but HCR 362 has been endorsed by a majority of the members of the House of Representatives and the Senate. This would provide sanctions against Iran, which is a much bigger country than Iraq, which we couldn't do anything about also. Sanctions are an act of war, and this could well lead to World War III. This is very, very important.
And it's very scary as well. While we still have time, I just want to make sure that people are able to contribute to your campaign, David. I know that you're not planning any. You're not packing any boxes to go to Washington, D.C. as the moment.
This is correct.
But, in order to continue to be a burr under the establishment saddle, you need to have finances to keep the flyers out and to, get the word out.
Mm-hmm.
And people can contribute money by going to sending check. The check should be payable to Macko for Congress Committee. It's P.O. Box 39233 in Solon, S-O-L-O-N, Ohio, 44139. And the website...
You can go to the website, mackoforcongress.com, MACKOFORCONGRESS.com, and I'm going to be setting up the final provisions on PayPal right as soon as I get off the line here.
Excellent. Just out of curiosity, David, how much money have you raised? Are you actually doing some good there in Ohio? How widespread is your support?
Well, so far I'm just using my own money. I haven't reached the $5,000 threshold yet for reporting to the FedGov. The donations have been minimal so far.
Yeah. And it's tough. I mean, it's tough taking the ethical stand, and especially within the Libertarian Party. I don't know why, but Libertarians spend more of their time arguing about how many of the Bill of Rights fit on the head of a pin rather than, supporting each other and supporting our candidates.
That is an unfortunate tendency. I've spent a little bit of my own money. I figure this is sort of like a vacation, so I'll put it $1,000 or $2,000 into it, and have a little bit of fun, pass out some literature. I have one Slim Jim type item, and I'll send you these and a 4-page flyer. But if you want to get at the full meat of the program, you should go to the website.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk for a moment. We've only got a couple minutes left of the program about the Libertarian candidate for president, Bob Barr. Even he is facing a little bit of division within the ranks. What do you know about that?
Well, he's repented. You know, he did some bad things when he was in Congress. He voted for the Patriot Act. But he's repented from that. He's joined the American Civil Liberties Union. He's joined the Libertarian Party. And as a Christian, I look and I accept people when they repent. Saul of Tarsus became St. Paul. The New American, the John Birch Society's magazine, has an excellent interview with him in their September 15th issue called The Libertarian Alternative. I didn't vote for him at the convention, but I've supported him since then. One of the problems has been Ron Paul. Compared to Ron Paul, nobody looks perfect. But if you compare Bob Barr to Obama or McCain, he looks great.
He does. Yeah.
So he looks almost perfect compared to them. They're one you have a communist traitor, and the other you have a fascist traitor.
Well, people need to break this idea that, you know, they have to vote for the lesser of two evils. Obviously, if they vote for the lesser of two evils and their candidate wins, they still get evil.
And we're getting it right in the teeth. For 90 years, the American people have voted for what they think may be the lesser of two evils. I don't even want to waste time figuring out which one is the lesser of the two evils. I support someone who is for liberty, who will shrink the government, who will reduce taxes, who will get us out of these unconstitutional, unnecessary, lie-based wars.
Well, people are starting to wake up, David, and I'm hoping that many of my listeners will contribute to your cause so that you can, you know, continue fighting for liberty there in Ohio. And, you know, what else can we do? Do you have a newsletter or something that goes out periodically?
I don't have a periodic newsletter. I have my 4-page campaign flyer. If I get sufficient interest from people before the election, I may get a newsletter going. I was the editor of the newsletter of the Libertarian Party of Northeast Ohio until we were told that this is contrary to some darned federal laws, and I'm using the word darn instead of the one I'd like to use, so the newsletter was basically suppressed. I think you saw some previous issues of it.
I did.
Some of them had to do with you, your campaign and the results of it. Yeah, I might want to get the newsletter started after the election. Yeah. A personal newsletter, not connected with any particular party. Maybe I'll call it Macko Truth, or Macko Speaks, or Macko Unleashed. I don't know yet.
I like the Macko Unleashed because
you do. I do too. Thanks.
I mean, and it's amusing to me because I know you personally. I mean, you're kind of a bulldog for liberty. You have never, you know, blinked or shuddered when faced with adversity, and you've always been on the side of liberty. And I deeply respect you for that, and I want to thank you for all.
Yeah, I don't want to do any bashing, but there is a certain officer of the Libertarian Party of Ohio who will go unnamed, and my first encounter with him was back in 2005, and he said, "We need to leash Macko," you know. So I want to be unleashed. You know?
Yeah, Macko Unleashed is a perfect name for that.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you have? Are you and your family storing up food for the upcoming food shortages?
Not as much as I should be. I haven't followed the advice on that as much as I should.
Yeah. Well, you've been busy. You've been fighting for everybody else's liberty rather than trying to protect your own. Well, David, I wish you a lot of good luck.
I do want to help the food situation. The first thing we should do is repeal the Department of Agriculture, abolish that. We could help out. We could help out with health by getting rid of the Department of Health and Human Services too.
Yeah, well, those are. Let's get you elected, and then you and Ron Paul can work together on that. I wish you a lot of luck, David. Thanks for all of your support over the years, and thanks for all that you